Hi there, Allan Châtenay with Explore here. I recently wrote an article for the CAGC Source magazine, and I thought I'd share it with you as a podcast. Reasons for Optimism, Staying Resilient in the Face of Adversity. The moment that most of us would remember as the beginning of this most recent downturn is the OPEC meeting in Vienna on November 27, 2014. As I write this, we're over 21 months into this thing. For perspective, the average price of crude oil with Brent, WTI and Dubai equally weighted in August 2014 was about $100 US. Today, it has recovered from a low of $26.19 to around $47. Many jobs have been lost. Many families are struggling with major financial worries and hardship. Anyone who entered the downturn with significant debt will have been singularly focused on resolving that problem. All of us have adjusted our lifestyles significantly as we batten down the hatches to weather the storm. Those in charge of a P&L are focused on two key things: operating cost and balance sheet health. Companies who grew too quickly and took on too much debt when the market was healthier are paying the price. Industry associations are also feeling the pinch. The CAGC itself has made major adjustments and is working hard to find a funding model that will work for the long run. The CSEG has pared back publication of the recorder and is looking for ways to deliver services to members more efficiently. To add to the worry, we have somehow managed to simultaneously elect either overtly socialist or left-leaning regimes at all three levels of government. They have mostly concluded that spending should continue and that this spending should be funded by additional taxation. In a province that built its wealth on hydrocarbons, our elected officials have concluded that they should exact a heavy tax on CO2, one of the basic building blocks of life. The sleepy Canadian electorate is rolling over. There was a time in history where a tax on air would have led to riots in the streets. Not today. Our iPhones have hypnotized us and lulled us into collective submission. We have also failed so far to find a way to get a new hydrocarbon export infrastructure built. Foreign-funded NGOs are winning the battle to stop new pipeline construction. From the Mackenzie Gas Project to Keystone XL to Northern Gateway to the dozens of proposed LNG projects, anti-industry forces have been winning the day. Even the obvious benefits of the Energy East pipeline can be usurped by hooligans and vandals. Sir John A. Macdonald must be twisting in his grave. The Americans are now exporting LNG to Asia through the newly widened Panama Canal. Tankers are shipping oil from Alaska to Asia, but we Canadians are apologetically wringing our hands looking for social license that these well-funded NGOs and their paid protesters will never give. As a result, we have all heard much negativity these past 2 years. Clients and colleagues alike have said, it's over for the industry, and the industry won't bounce back in Canada, and so forth. While this is certainly an understandable reaction to the current state of affairs, nothing could be further from the truth. There is reason for hope, even optimism. For the first time since the formation of OPEC in Baghdad in 1960, we are in a truly unfettered market. There are no shock absorbers. The U.S. Energy Information Administration, or EIA, pegs global crude oil consumption for 2016 at 95.36 million barrels per day. That's 1.48 million barrels per day more than we consumed each day in 2015. World oil production for 2016 will be roughly 96.2 million barrels per day, just 500,000 barrels per day more than 2015, with most of that additional supply coming from OPEC. By 2017, consumption will rise to 96.78 million barrels per day, but production will rise to only 96.79 million barrels per day, an estimated cushion of just 10,000 barrels. This means that there will be enormous opportunities for those of us who stay resilient and determined to outlast the current downturn. Market forces have been working their magic, and the severity of this downturn will be outdone only by the extreme nature of the rebound. As the market continues to exact a heavy toll on inefficiency and bloat, it also rewards thrift and ingenuity. Now is the time to be sharpening our tools, honing our skills, and laying the foundation for the next boom, a boom that may well be the biggest and best we've seen. In many ways, our industry is very much like the boreal forest in which we often operate. The boreal forest is a fire-maintained ecosystem. It needs to burn to regenerate and thrive. And like the boreal forest, our industry is usually strongest after the fire. There are a few green sprouts now growing from the ashes of this most recent price crash. the early signs of a strong resurgence. We are a resilient industry comprised of thousands of very tough and determined people. The most efficient operators are finding new ways to bring costs down and deliver reasonable profits at the wellhead, even at sub-50 West Texas Intermediate pricing. New discoveries and play types are being announced, new technologies and methods are being developed across industry sectors, and as the fat gets trimmed, we are finding that we can do more with less. All of this will serve us well as the market continues to recover. With supply and demand essentially equivalent, we can expect wild price swings into the future. With the EIA forecast of essentially zero cushion, spot prices will whipsaw wildly with the slightest provocation. We should all be ready for the consumer outrage that will accompany these price spikes. What does this mean for the seismic industry in Canada? We need to acquire better data in better ways. It turns out that virtually none of the data our industry has acquired in the past properly meets the needs of clients today. When we acquired those data, clients were predominantly looking for major structural and stratigraphic features. 3D seismic trace densities of less than 1,000 P-wave traces per square kilometer are mostly useless for the advanced seismic attribute work required for today's plays. Yet many operators continue to acquire these data because it's what the parameters were on the last survey, and they want to keep costs down. This is like trying to use the grainy televisions of our childhood for video replay review in professional sports. None of us would walk into the store and purchase a cathode ray tube television. In fact, no store even stocks them anymore. But for some reason, people are still trying to buy and sell the equivalent in seismic data. No wonder this downturn has been particularly acute for us. Just as Sony was forced to end CRT production in 2008, so should our industry stop shooting sub-million trace per square kilometer data and hoping that 5D interpolation can fill in the missing bits. The fact of the matter is that the entire Western Canadian sedimentary basin needs to be re-imaged using 3-component trace densities in the millions per square kilometers. While this can be efficiently achieved in open prairie with a minimum of additional environmental impact, acquiring these denser surveys in the boreal forest will require new advanced line preparation methods as it becomes clear that the impact of even a 2.75 meter wide line is too great at line intervals below 200 meters. The good news is that we are developing the enabling technologies to achieve this new goal. Nodal receivers are enabling new survey design methods. Creative use of the embedded GPS receivers will provide better data outcomes. Stakeless surveys are providing the on-the-fly adaptability in the field. Smaller and lighter drills and vibrators are being developed, and nodes will continue to get smaller, lighter, and cheaper with batteries that are lighter and last longer, enabling greater receiver densities and wider azimuth acquisition on land. In November 2014, the Saudis saw that by restricting production to support pricing, they were simply subsidizing North American ingenuity. They calculated that by letting prices fall, they could recover that market share. Those calculations were mostly correct. However, when oil demand meets and exceeds supply in 2017 and beyond, the world will require North American ingenuity and resilience to make up the difference. Let's all make sure we are ready to rise to that challenge. Thanks for listening. Again, I'm Allan Châtenay with Explore. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, like it, share it, spread the word.